Hey, welcome to Lessons in Leadership. This is Tom Bradford, and this is episode 5. I was away for a little while. I was on vacation, but I'm back now, and the content will resume. Today, I want to talk about a couple of things. Specifically, I'd like to talk about the role of leadership in a company, and also imposter syndrome. And you'll kind of understand why they are going to be bundled into the same package. But before I do that, I do have to give some background as to why I'm talking about these things, and it's going to get a little personal. But the topic itself it came up because of a conversation that I was having recently, and I got triggered, and now I want to vent. So here's some background. I am going to be unemployed in 2 weeks, and as a result, of course, I'm looking for work. The reason I'll be unemployed is because I volunteered for redundancy. In fact, I volunteered for redundancy in the last 2 jobs. In the previous job, the reason that I volunteered is because the company was reorganizing. I worked in the group CTO level of the company, and our CEO decided that that level of the company was completely unnecessary, and everybody in that part of the organization was pretty much going to be redistributed throughout the company. I was offered the ability to stay, but I didn't want to take jobs from other people, and so ended up volunteering for redundancy. And then in the current job, that was a very much a strategic decision amongst myself and the rest of our leadership team, because the company had been financially struggling. We are in the midst of kind of a turnaround, but we do need to extend our runway. And at the end of the day, your individual contributors are the ones who are going to be delivering against that stuff. And so, I prepared my head of engineering pretty well for the handoff, and I think that he'll do a good job of it. But it was absolutely necessary to give the company enough rope to be able to hang itself with that. No, enough runway to get things to the point where they can actually become profitable. And it looks like they will be, so I'm happy for them. But I'm unemployed. So I've been looking for work, and of course I had a conversation with a recruiter the other day, told him exactly what I just said about volunteering for redundancy, and his reaction was, well, that's not necessarily smart, right? Because you put the company at a possible disadvantage and make them more likely to fail. And I thought about that, and he's right and wrong simultaneously, because it depends on the company. And here's why. So, if you're a leader and you truly understand, the reasons why people become leaders and the role leaders play in an organization, then you'll understand that your primary goal as a leader is to become obsolete. That means that you create enough autonomy for your teams, share enough knowledge with them, give enough guidance that eventually any decisions that you may have otherwise been making don't have to be made by you anymore, because the team should be able to take over everything end to end about the concerns that you had originally been sort of holding on to. Now, of course, there are bad leaders, right, who basically want to make themselves indispensable and create job security for themselves. But I would also argue that, if you are doing the right things as a leader and creating these autonomous and independent teams who are growing constantly, you're also growing. And as a byproduct, the company is growing. And so you'll never really become obsolete. You'll just sort of evolve into new roles at the organization, which is exactly how you should hope it will progress. So, a company that's mature can usually bear somebody making themselves redundant. In the case of the previous job, I would say they're fine. And in the case of the current job, I think that when I first joined them, they would not have been fine. But I think that over the past year, they've grown a lot, and they understand the goal now. And so even though I'm sure that they would like me to be there, they don't need me to be there, right? And so that's another thing I would say is, as a leader or even as a coworker, the thing that you should hope to achieve as either of those roles would be that people don't want to work with you because they need you. They want to work with you because it's good to work with you, and I hope that I've done that in my career. I think that I've had a good impact on the team, such that they feel that they just desire to work with me rather than I'm either indispensable or they have to just suffer through my existence. Anyway, so that's what I would say about the role of leadership. Now I want to get to the whole imposter syndrome thing, because I've been really kind of feeling it pretty hard lately. And the last time that I felt it as bad was right at the beginning of the pandemic. So, in 2020, in March or so, basically Germany went on lockdown and all companies pretty much shuttered, right? And they just sent everybody home to work remotely. And that happened to the company I was at. And now I'm just sitting at home, and all the tools that I've sort of collected over the years for being a good leader in an organization are gone, because they were all dependent on my ability to walk the floor, to meet up with people at the coffee machine, to sit down at teams' desks and have conversations with them, to whiteboard in a meeting room. Gone, all of it. And now I'm just sitting there in front of Zoom and feeling naked and impotent, and ultimately feeling that I was failing my team horribly. Like just abysmally failing all of the people who worked for me. And I also felt like anybody could do a better job than I was doing at that moment. It was just a shit show in my mind. And so I left. I think it was a bad decision. It was one of the best companies I've ever worked for. But I was on the verge of burnout, and it would have been horrible to have to go through that again. I've already done it once. I don't want to do that. And then even though the imposter syndrome was telling me that I was a failure and failing my people, the burnout would have assured that I was failing my people, and I couldn't see that happen. So I ended up taking kind of like a step back, going to a smaller organization where it was a bit more manageable, and I can sort of relearn how to be a leader. And I think that, over the last 3 years, I work fully remotely without a problem. I would much rather work either in a hybrid situation or, on site, to be honest, because there is some degree of social interactions that help feed you as a person. And I was definitely being fed by those social interactions. So there you have it. There's the imposter syndrome. I'll say another thing, though, about recruiters. I've been rejected a lot. I'm not used to being rejected by so many in so many job applications, but I understand it because the industry right now is broken. Right, over the last year, everybody's been laid off. Everybody's looking for work. There aren't that many jobs available. I feel bad for recruiters. I mean, they're probably inundated with applications, and what can they do? They have to be economical, right? So they have to look at the CV and have really, really crude criteria for very quickly eliminating that CV from amongst the potentially hundreds and thousands of applicants that they're seeing, because they can't create that burden on the people in the organization to just do all of that screening. Makes total sense. I understand it. A recruiter suggested that I actually add a cover letter saying that I volunteered for redundancy in the last 2 jobs. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that, to be honest with you. I think, it's creating like a woe is me thing. And to be honest with you, I'd rather not do that. I would rather a recruiter look at it, say, and then try to sort of infer that there's still something there in spite of the last couple of years. And I would also hope that recruiters know that the situation over the last couple of years has been not normal by any means, and that a lot of stuff happened that you kind of have to, you know, not blame, but explain by the situation of the pandemic and the financial crisis, and rather than someone's actual behavior. And so this is something I hope would happen. I haven't seen it yet, but maybe it will. Maybe. So yeah, that, I don't know if that was a lesson. I think that was more me venting and sort of bearing my soul. And I hope that was okay with you. I will have a real lesson in the next episode. I promise. Anyway, there you go. See you next time.